Good afternoon. It's Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. Yes, it is. On this beautiful Friday afternoon, I'm so excited to talk to my good friend, Auntie, about the astrology. Yes, yes. Let me my birthday company candle, Surviving Mercury Retrograde. I think they're out of stock, but I love their stuff and I'm an affiliate. You can go to the link in my bio to see get
Hello.
a discount. Hey, girl, how are you?
Hi. Hi, I'm good. How's it going? My phone is charged.
You're all prepared. Your phone is charged. You got everything. We're not going to have any calamities. I feel it. I feel it. You're looking beautiful and rested.
So are you.
Thank
So are
you.
you.
I'm doing good. This week was a lot for me with Mars conjunct Jupiter squaring Saturn because I have my Venus and Mercury in Gemini and Mars and Jupiter in Gemini and my midheavens ruled by Mars. So it's been a lot of air whistling through this head and out this mouth.
It's a really big week for everybody. Like, I don't know. It feels like so many people are telling me how it's triggering their chart personally, like almost to the degree. Like, I have so many friends who are like, this is on my stuff. This is on my stuff. It's like, yeah, this full moon is really intense and crazy and charged and beautiful and potent. And I feel like we have been speaking about this moment before, like
Mm.
kind of preparing for this summer, kind of preparing for the Jupiter Saturn square together for a little while now.
Mhm.
Like we have been looking to this moment for a minute together, right?
Yeah, it's ever since 2020 when Jupiter and Saturn met at zero Aquarius, starting this new cycle, the social planets. Okay, introduce yourself in case anyone doesn't know who you are. They should, but
Okay. So if you don't know me, my name is Sarah El Harar. I'm auntie online. I'm a teacher, professional astrologer. I do consultations. I never know what to say in these things. Astroauntie.com. I do reading. I give classes. I mentor astrologers, which is like my passion. I'm realizing that I really love to mentor younger astrologers and to help them get better at their craft. Yeah, what am I supposed to
that's
say in these things? Can you
good.
help
You
me?
can say, I mean, if you want, you can tell people you have 4 kids.
Oh,
Not that it matters, but
you know
you're
what I
Canadian.
realized?
You can
It's
say
like
that.
a lot of moms around me like start conversations by saying like how they're a mom. Like for me, it's like side note, side are these 4 people that I created? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a mom too.
Yeah, but that's not all you are.
Amongst many other things. Yeah.
Lucky you living in Canada. I might have to come live with you if things go sideways.
You're more than welcome. No, no. Hey. I don't know. I have like newfound
Optimism,
trust.
uh,
Yeah, optimism. Yeah.
optimism, faith, trust. Yes, Jupiter square Saturn.
And
Yeah. Okay.
feeling like we can do it. Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
introduce yourself, Celeste, for the people who might not know you from my
Oh,
channel.
okay. Okay. So I'm Celeste Brooks of Astrology by Celeste everywhere. I'm an astrologer, a coach, and an intuitive. And I teach for Kepler College as well as my own classes. And I'm the president, I'm not the president, I'm the president of the Celeste Brooks fan club.
No, no, that's me. She's coming for my gig, y'all. No, I'm the president of the Celeste Brooks fan club. Like no.
Most days, but some days I'm the opposite. I'm the biggest retractor with my South Node in Virgo.
She's like, I'm the president.
But I am a board member of
We did it, Joe.
OPA, the Organization of Professional Astrology. That was just a
Yeah.
joke. I'm always on my back criticizing myself. I have
Yeah,
Saturn on my sun.
I love that. When, as you're saying that, she's like, I teach for Kepler, I do this for OPA. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to say too.
Yeah,
Like, I teach for
you could
Deborah
have said you're the
Silverman.
ESAR.
Right. I'm the global director for ESAR Canada. Yeah. I forget. I need to have like this thing like prompted like in front of my face. Like, these are the things you do, Sarah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes I go and
Saturn.
I
This is my coaching for you. I want you to work on your bio to add your credentials.
should I read it? Like, I have a proper smart people bio written, you know? But yeah, no, it
You
never
do
comes.
you. I mean, your light shines whether you give them or not. You don't need to give your credentials. You are Uranian. And we're going to talk about Uranus because you're a real role model for your Uranus energy, having it in your 10th house. For me, it's in my fourth. So sometimes it's hidden from me. So we'll get to that. But anyway, if anyone's new to either of us, you can click the caret and at the top, that arrow thing, and follow either one of us without leaving or what have you. But yeah, we wanted to talk about this full moon because it's a really important full moon. So Sarah, do you want to tell people whatever you want to tell them about full moons, about this moon, what have you?
Um, Yeah, I think that there's like layers to why this full moon is so important. One of the things, so I host a new moon group called 13 Moons. Every month we gather with my community and we analyze like the astrology of the month ahead. And so for this whole year, there's been like a Uranus theme in the moons. Have you noticed? Like, oh, new moon was conjunct Uranus and it was square Uranus. I was, like it did all the aspects. The Uranus got really big aspects. So it feels like there's like a progression of Uranian events. Like Uranus has not, I mean, okay, getting confused. There's so many layers to
Well,
this.
tell people what Uranus is, like
Okay,
the
so
archetype.
Uranus is a planet that represents liberation, freedom, chaos, change, progress, a way to process information. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So Mercury is like intelligence, words, and kind of like the intelligence of this world. And Uranus just like is the higher octave of that. So it's like a processing of information that might feel like a flood of information. It's also sudden changes, surprises, can be very unpredictable, very out of the box. And basically, Uranus has been transiting, so traveling through the area of the sky that we call Taurus since 2018. And for people who have Taurus placements, the Uranus going through our sign, it's been challenging because Tauruses are known to like hang on to comfort and habits and not want change. And Uranus has been doing the travel and kicking all the Tauruses in the butt.
We're both Tauruses.
It's on my sun and moon like as we speak. But I, like you said before, I'm Uranian. Like Uranus plays a huge role in my chart. So yeah, it's not so unfamiliar, but it is uncomfortable. And so what Uranus is doing to all Taurus placements, so if you have any Taurus since 2018, it's been going through our sign and just like kind of like shaking the rug off the dust, moving the furniture around. And Taurus is like, no, I love my couch in the corner. That's where I drink my tea every day. And Uranus is like, no, no, the couch goes here. Like everything is changing. So it feels a little bit unpredictable and a little bit uncomfortable. But it's been a Uranus strong year this year. Uranus has been like really strong, really strengthened by the conjunction to Jupiter that happened in April. And just like these really big Uranus moons, like a lot of the new moons were Uranus theme, like change, change, change. So this theme has come through again and again since the beginning of the year. Change, 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 change. And yeah.
And the conjunction was on April 20th. Jupiter met Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus. And you can look at your chart and see where that was. And Taurus has felt it most strongly, but like people with strong Scorpio placements opposite that, it may have come in through someone else outside of yourself. Why is this person going through so much change? Why are they doing this? Da, 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 da. Or like, how else would you describe the opposition for people with the Scorpio energy of how they
Yeah.
might be feeling this Uranian
I
energy?
love that you're saying through someone else. Like, I think that this is like really possible. So maybe the people who have it as a conjunction, like close to their own planet, the people who are Taurus, it may feel like I need to change. And with Scorpio, like noticing change maybe outside of yourself, inspiring you to change, or being asked to change could be a thing, or being like prompted by other people. Oh, I don't know. Sure.
I know
Um,
that thumb thing is so annoying. Yeah.
but there's definitely like a lesson there for Scorpios. Like I feel like oppositions, when it's in the sign opposite of your sign, like it comes as like really a lesson, something to make you grow, something to make you mature, and usually through, yeah, another person.
And then how would you say the square with so
Leo
Leo
and
and
Aquarius.
Aquarius are going to be feeling this because these are all the fixed signs. So
And
they're
so
feeling it the strongest. Yeah.
and so that's why this full moon is so weird. The sun is in Leo, as everybody knows, and the moon will be in Aquarius. And so that's why this full moon is so Uranus themed, because the full moon creates what we call a square to Uranus. And so it's, for me, the square with Uranus and in Leo and Aquarius, it's really uncomfortable. It could feel like a sudden surprise change, something that could be like really quick. And I don't want to be scary. It's not going to be the same for everybody. Of course, if you're a Leo, like not all Leos are going to have like a moment of like, definitely
Oh
expect like
no.
a sudden event.
Oh, we just had a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of you pause for a second. But so you don't want to be scary. Not all Leos or Aquarius are going to have a sudden event, but there also could be an awakening about something that comes for people, especially if now Uranus is at 27 degrees of um, of Taurus. So if you have planets within a degree on either side, it may just be something comes to your conscious attention about what needs to change or how someone has changed. You may look over at your partner and be like, I didn't realize they've matured that much, or I didn't realize they broke free of that old habit, or it doesn't have to be anything. It can be really positive, don't you think? Uranus can bring really positive liberation and change from where we are stuck.
But I think that it ultimately is always kind of positive. You know,
Mm.
some things might be uncomfortable, and like growth is uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, you don't grow. You stay where you are and you love it, and that's it. So, but I think that ultimately, yeah, Uranus is not like really about the way we feel about change. Like it's not, I feel like Uranus doesn't care about
Uranus does not care whether you does
whether
not
you
care.
want or not,
It's
but it's
devoid
taking
of
you through.
feeling. It's like bringing in change that needs to potentially needs to happen. And if you resist it, if you brace against it, it can feel like a car crash rather than moving through like a complex and uncomfortable thing. But yeah, like I feel like if I hadn't quit my corporate job and just kept doing it because as a Taurus, I just holding on to it, gripping it, even though I knew my soul had evolved past it. Um, yeah, it would have been some kind of calamity. Like it could have come in through a health issue or come in through, I don't know, like me cracking up at work. Like
Like
doing some
having going postal.
some weird thing where I just
Yeah.
like went off at work or something like that.
So funny. Right. And so I don't know if you remember this, you will the day that Uranus came on my sun exact degree, I told my husband like, okay, I really shouldn't drive. Um so I'm not gonna drive today. And he said, okay, cool, cool. He understood. It's Uranus, it's my sun, blah, blah, blah. So I'm deciding that I'm not taking my car. And then he goes to the swimming pool with the kids. And then, like I go get them at the pool and then bring back and then do the whole schlep. Like I didn't want to schlep. So I said, okay, forget it. I'm not going to be paranoid about astrology. I'm an astrologer. I know what to do. Drive safely. Don't be superstitious. Don't be stupid. So I'm driving like so safe. Like I can't, when you're extra, extra conscious, like if there's like a million cops around you and you're driving like really by the book, and I'm at the stop sign, fully stopped, and this person is doing a left turn in front of me, so I'm letting her pass, and I got rear-ended. And so, I thought it was so funny. So of course I burst out in laughter. So the woman thinks I'm like a maniac,
Yeah.
right? Then we got into an argument because I told her, you fucking hit me. And she's like, you don't need to curse. And I'm like, now you're like policing my language. Like so stupid. Anyway, so that happened. And Michael was like, oh, why did you drive? And I'm like, oh, because I didn't want to be paranoid. So yeah, literal car crash, you
And
know?
it wasn't like, I'm sure if you looked at your chart, it wasn't just Uranus. It was something going through your third house of cars or
Of
some
course,
there
it
was
was all of it. All the ingredients were there for a car crash. So I was like, okay, not driving. And then it did happen. So yeah, I'm gonna.
yeah. Well, the good thing about Uranus transits, they happen to the day. So you can say, oh, I'm not going to ride my horse on the day Uranus is on my sun because there's just like a little amplification of that energy for sudden events or unexpected things. That's a great example of when it shows up in a physical manner, but a lot of times it doesn't. It's like
It's mental, yeah. So
it's
Uranus
mental.
can be mental, and I think that part of the liberation that Uranus promises is like really a freedom of mentality,
Mhm.
you know? I think that the chaos that it does bring is open-mindedness in the end, because Uranus being the higher octave of Mercury, like it does rule the higher mind in a way, you know what I mean? So it's taking our crusty habits, like our old thinking, and like pushing it to a next level, a new iteration. And so sometimes it can come as like realization, you know?
Mhm.
Another thing that I think is really Uranian, and I've noticed this a lot in my readings recently. Tell me what you think about this, Celeste. Is so when I see somebody have a big Uranus natal, they usually find a way to trap themselves in the first part of their life to
Mhm.
create kind of a cage. So, an unhappy marriage, a career that's misaligned, relationships that they know, a place that they don't like. And I think that there's like, it's a thing between the self and the soul, that there's like this love letter where the self will create a cage so that the soul comes and
Oh,
liberates.
oh my
Because,
God, Sarah. Okay, I just want to make sure you saw that C Global Healing said you're the best mentor ever. So
oh, sweetie,
that
yeah.
I needed to make sure you saw that. But I have Uranus in Libra, right, conjunct my IC. And I was just talking to someone about this. And so it's at 5 Libra. So, having it on my sun when I quit my corporate job, but it was eclipsed in March. And it's been like, and I was just telling someone about how I kept myself in a cage for so long, being the good girl with Sun on my Saturn on my sun, always doing, what I perceive to be the right thing, being so reliable and so structured and so this and that and the other thing. And then it's like this call, it's like being shaken, like Uranus, it's like, and I blew up a relationship with,
I love
when
how
when
we're
that
laughing now,
happened. Yeah,
like
and
witches.
it was just a relationship that had outgrown itself. I mean, we're friends now. It's all good. But yeah, when it was shocked, shattered, it's like it keeps you, my soul, it forces your soul to break free sometimes of
And
some
so, yeah,
things.
if you have the promise that you're gonna break free, right? So, freedom and liberation implies an oppressor.
Mhm.
Free from what, though? You don't get free if you're already free. You don't get liberated if you're already liberated, right? So, freedom implies an oppression. And I think that Uranus, for the first part of Uranus, it feels like suffocation for people.
Mhm.
Uranus will give you the feeling of being in spaces that are too small
Mhm.
and needing to break through is also a thing with Uranus, right? So it's not just like, oh, getting free, you know, like I'm thinking of like girls like taking off our bras, we're free. Like, no, it's like first you're gonna create your cage. First you're gonna
Yeah,
create your cage, you're gonna feel really stuck.
yeah, yeah. And for
And
me, a
then you're
big
gonna have,
part is freedom of expression too. Because I mean, I'm a mundane astrologer, and so I've been talking about the politics of things, which is like a total no-no to talk about politics because you're just gonna piss some people off because they get so bad. But I, like, I'm not telling anyone what they need to do. I'm just talking about what I'm seeing, and I feel this internal need to share. And I'm sure it's against my own best interest, technically, but like my soul feels like it needs to. Yeah, that I want to express myself in the ways I want to express myself, even if it's a little wild and unconventional and
mhm,
not in my best financial interest. This is probably, but
right? But Uranus is like, yeah, that's not what really matters, you
Mhm.
know. And Saturn is like, come on, Uranus, you
Saturn's like,
know,
stop it.
stop, get back in shape. And so it's really interesting because Saturn, for me, like Saturn has like all the planets are like kind of like Saturn's like antagonist. If you think about Saturn versus Jupiter is like a very classic, okay, we get it. There's Saturn versus Uranus, of course,
Mhm.
right? Saturn versus Neptune, right? Does Neptune no boundaries, Saturn limits, right? So like Saturn is always like kind of like, oh, come on, guys. Yeah, we got to get to work and do the right thing. And the other planets are like, ah! I feel like it's a little
Yeah,
bit that energy. Like
to
Saturn
live
is
it.
all,
Saturn wants to live it and control. Yeah, and but it's earned success. It's a hard work, and Uranus is also authenticity, and people really like authenticity. Uh huh.
yeah,
Like when you think about what really people connect with, a lot of the collective connects with authenticity over the person who's perfect every moment of the day, like the Stepford wife kind of imagery of, yeah, that,
yeah, the
mm-hmm,
right, the
mm-hmm,
good girl,
the good
good girl.
girl. Yeah. That's why that
Yeah.
movie Gone Girl and the book were so successful. Did you ever see that movie Gone Girl?
No.
It's really good. You
Yeah.
should there's like a speech in there where she talks about being the cool girl, like, just yeah. Anyway, it's a great book and movie by Gillian Flynn. Okay, I lost my train and started going on a
Okay.
total.
So we're on Uranus. We
Mhm.
spend all this time on Uranus. Uranus is doing the things for
And we're
this
talking
full moon.
about it because it's squaring. You said this right. At
Yeah.
the full moon, Uranus is really highlighted. It's a star of the show. The sun, our conscious mind, the moon, our subconscious mind, are both squaring Uranus at the full moon on Monday. And we're going to see world events, Uranian things and world events, as well as you may see things in your own life. Mm-hmm.
100%. 100%. And so for the world events, like I've been watching this month with great anticipation because, like you mentioned, we had the Jupiter conjunct Saturn in 2020, the Great Conjunction, it's called, and it's a once in 20 years happening, and it's very eventful. And so, of course, 2020 was a little crazier, greater than Great Conjunction because Pluto was there too. So first it was Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn. It was like just great conjunctions upon great conjunctions were happening in 2020. But basically, what we do is that we will look at an event. So a conjunction is when two planets look like they're in the same place in the sky and they're like lining up. And so we look at this event a little bit like a noon moment on a clock, and we say, okay, so this is the moment that starts everything. And then we can kind of like look at the progress of this event through the years. And so right now we're at like step one, step two, a little bit in a 4-step process of this great conjunction that happened in 2020. We're now finally at step two. So everything
And
that
that's
started,
because, tell people why.
and that's because Jupiter is square Saturn right now, exact degree. So we have Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces. And so they're forming a square immutable signs that, okay, so it means plenty of things, this square. It's really fascinating, and we can go like deeper into the meaning of it. But really, why I'm looking at it with such intensity is because I think that we are going to hear news about. So first of all, there's like a huge wave of COVID right now. Huge.
Gemini rules the lungs. Jupiter, which expands things, is in the sign of Gemini, which rules the lungs. And Saturn, which we've talked about, is in Pisces, which has to do with like inflammation. And well, maybe inflammation's wrong. Would you say infection is more like Piscean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like spreading. Yeah.
Weakness, Pisces weakness, weakening of the physical plane. And Jupiter and Saturn, the square happens on Monday, the same day as the full moon. So it's like we're getting this pa-boom, pa-boom, pa-boom on
Spreading.
Sunday,
Yes.
Monday. That's like big stuff.
Isabella is saying spreading, and I think with mutable signs, the idea of spreading, the idea of contagious, and Pisces, the idea of contagious is crazy, and Jupiter Gemini, it's like really crazy. The idea of contagion is there. For me, what I'm thinking is that, so when the Jupiter Saturn conjunction happened was in December of 2020, and that was the first rounds of vaccines that came out. So I'm wondering if we're going to hear about after effects of vaccination, after effects of getting COVID, long COVID. There's going to be more research on that. We might have more data. I'm hopeful, but I think it might have to wait for another 4 years until the opposition. But I think we're going to finally hear the real truth about the lab. Like this has never, like they never told us. They just like, yeah, maybe, okay. But we're still on paper. They're still telling us it's like gross soup. It wasn't bad soup from a market. It wasn't pangolin soup.
Oh,
They love.
Sarah, stop telling this stuff. I don't want this to get banned on YouTube.
Oh shit. Look,
Okay,
I know.
so you think we're gonna hear something?
I
Yeah,
think
I
we're
said
gonna
it like
hear news. I think we're gonna hear news about like the inception of COVID, about medication. Maybe there, hopefully, fingers crossed. I think there could be like an antiviral medication that could come out, like a next step in medicating. So
okay, so Sarah, on my podcast, this coming next podcast, the Celestial Insights podcast, available wherever you listen. I also said I thought we would be hearing something about COVID therapies. It could be positive or negative, but you know what is in the news? Like this is what will happen. So the Jupiter Uranus, the Jupiter Gemini,
Saturn.
Jupiter Saturn conjunction was
Yeah.
the vaccines. now we're talking about monkeypox again. So I think that's part of the Jupiter and Gemini square Saturn and Pisces, because Saturn rules the skin. In this disease, Jupiter spreads quickly. It's associated with long distance travel, the whole world. In Gemini, you touch something with your hand and you get it. Yeah, I think this is also about that monkeypox stuff.
Yeah, it could totally be. And then, of course, 2020 was also election year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
December 2020 was right before January 2021.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of these themes that are coming back up, of course, it's like, like, you again, right?
Yeah.
But so the inception, it starts at the conjunction, but the square is like a really different moment. It's not the same. And so the square is a moment of action, it's a moment of push, sometimes it's a moment of friction, of tension, right?
Uh-huh.
But something, it feels like rubber is hitting, like, there's something, right?
I think it's going to be news. I think part of it. Okay, so Donald Trump is a 29-degree Leo rising, and his Mars is at 26 degrees of Leo. So I think this across his ascendant, descendant, I think there's going to be more news broken about whatever Iran stole from his files. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and so we
I.
have like other, like, it's so funny because we're always in conversation, you and I and Tiffany, the three of us, like we have this text chain where we're always like blah, 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 just like going through the events and making links and like the three total nerds that we are. But yeah, what news I was, oh yeah, so of course, so now we have the Mars conjunct Jupiter, right? And so that's like, okay, we have this thing with Mars conjunct
That was
Jupiter.
on
So it's not only,
Wednesday. Yeah.
yeah, it's not only Jupiter, it's Jupiter by the power of Mars and Mars by the power of Jupiter. And so Mars is the ruler of Aries, which is where the North Node is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've had also like another ongoing story going on with the eclipses, and Mars and Venus as ruler of the nodes, and so ruler of the eclipses. And so when there's a huge conjunction by outer planet to Mars or to Venus, which there is right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's triggering the events that were triggered during the eclipses. It's
Mm-hmm.
waking up eclipse events.
Yeah.
So looking back to the eclipse dates, knowing what was going on for you and looking if you're seeing some form of, progression every time there's these things and where it's taking you, but also like on the world level, on the global level, it's very, very impactful.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been looking at Mars and Venus with a side eye. I'm like, I know who you represent. Stop lying to me that you're just Mars and that you're just Venus. I know who you're working for. You're working for the eclipses.
Yeah, yeah. Mars is a trigger, and I started acting real Uranian this spring. The eclipses were March 25th. There was a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra, and April 8th, a solar eclipse of 19 Aries. So we're seeing events triggered back then, coming up again now. And on a world stage, some of the things that happened were that um, it's all this stuff going on with Iran and Israel escalating the conflicts, and it was this eye for an eye, like strike, 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 is getting more intensified, and that may be a story at this weekend as well, because Mercury in Leo is squaring Uranus on Sunday. And Uranus and Taurus can be violation of land boundaries as well. So that Mercury in Leo could be an announcement, a shot fired, or something like that. So And it may not be Iran and Israel at all. It may be somewhere else in the world, but
I
that's
feel like
something to be.
the nodes, like the North Node, has been coming for Israel like straight in the teeth, since like
Mhm.
it was like it's been eclipse after eclipse, and it's like it was almost too, the timing was too right. So I feel like every time that I look at Mars and I look at Jupiter, I can look to the news, or not Jupiter, and I look to Venus, I can look to the news if there's a huge conjunction, if there's something happening, and shit is going down in Israel. Now, is that cheating? Because shit is always going down in Israel? Maybe. You
Mhm.
know, maybe it's a fluke. Maybe just they're always on the news. But when I see like a big turn, a momentous thing, you can track it back, and Mars and Venus are going to be um, included.
And so Israel's a Libra rising, so Venus rules their chart, and which puts Aries on their descendant, which makes Mars their open enemy, as well as allies and things. But yeah, and Mars and Venus are squaring next week on, let me see which day. Mm, let's see. You can keep talking. I'll find it.
I didn't hear what you said because my phone decided to tell me I spent too much time on Instagram today.
I said Mars and Venus. Venus is coming to square Mars.
Mm,
I'm looking
yeah.
to see what's the exact day it is. Venus in Virgo. You want to talk about Venus in Virgo a bit? Because there's also Venus is opposite Saturn at the full moon.
Yeah, Venus is opposite Saturn. So Venus, ruler of the South Node. So she's not nobody. I'm telling you, I'm looking at Venus and Mars differently this year. Every time I see Venus, I'm like, I know who you work for, baby. You work for the South Node. So usually me, a Taurus, a Venusian person, loving Venus, but I know who she's working for. She's working for the South Node. And so when Venus works for the South Node, sometimes, and what she's done with me, what it's happened with me, is that it lures you back into like your old patterns. And it's like, come, you like a drink, a smoke, a cake. Remember how you really love carbs, you know? Venus
Because the
South
South
Node,
Node's a drain. Yeah, tell people
you
about the
know?
South Node in case they don't know.
So the south node, yeah, I like that you're saying a drain. The north node, like a culling, but the south node is also, yeah, it drains the energy of whatever is hitting the south node. It makes the sign act maybe in their lower frequency. So now we have the south node is in Libra. So the axis of the eclipses and the nodal axis is Aries and Libra. Aries north, we're going towards a healthy Aries, a healthy Mars, an independent Mars, and coming away from a maybe lower, more codependent Venusian type. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Is that
it
right?
makes, and it's in what we're seeing about like with the U.S. with the elections. There's all this talk about trad wives versus
Very
childless
demure,
cat
very, what did
ladies.
it say? Demure, modest, very
Yeah.
little, very not see me. They say.
Hmm. And there's like this fight to go back to that, like women
It's
being,
literally like
yeah,
the hawk Tuah girl versus the very demure girl.
yeah.
They're like, it's like the all this like weirdly is that the axis? It seems like it
Yeah.
is. What's interesting about Venus right now, so Venus opposite Saturn is also forming a square to Jupiter. So we have like these two major like kind of tensions in the sky for the full moon. So Venus on one side, Saturn on the other, in the middle, sandwiched in between is Jupiter and Mars. So that creates that tension. And so how it feels like Mars says, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. Yeah. And then Jupiter's like, wow, let's do it. And Saturn goes, no, 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 don't you even dare, you know? And so I don't know, how would you put Venus in the middle of all this? Like Venus like,
Yeah, so Venus in Virgo, it's a little bit uncomfortable and it can be, but it can also be like just getting real. I feel like Venus in Virgo. Now, the beautiful things about Venus in Virgo, it's like the independent lady, it's the priestess energy, it's the spinster who I was reading something about, like spinsters were these women who weaved and they were independent financially and they were demonized. So you can think about Venus opposite Saturn, seeing how we are being, seeing how certain independent women are being demonized has been a big theme for the last couple of weeks. But it can also be coming against in relationships, coming feeling controlled or restricted or separate. These are all Saturn words. Like, notice if you feel like someone is trying to control you in your relationship, or are you controlling yourself, like not eating the cookie? There can be a big tension about this. Is great energy to try to break a bad habit at this full moon, like the cookies, the wine, the whatever. I think you can really do that because Venus is about what we love, our pleasure, our relationships, things like that. Mm.
and Virgo is about what's good for us and what isn't good for us, and having the
Mm-hmm.
discernment of like what this is trash
Mm-hmm.
and this is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Wait, you said something that just like gave me,
Because
I don't know.
Venus is opposite Saturn on Sunday. Exactly. Oh, no, no, at the full moon, the same day,
Yeah,
Monday. Monday,
yeah.
this Monday's bonkers. We have Venus opposite Saturn, uh, Sun square Uranus, Jupiter square Saturn, the full moon. Yeah. And this is the day the Democratic convention starts. So there's all this excitement. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping nothing bad
There's
happens.
also like, so one of the things that I've loved
Oh,
spending time on a little bit recently, and I think that's like always like a fun thing to trick my students with when we're talking about aspects. I'll make them open their chart and be like, okay, everybody, if you have Neptune sextile Pluto in your chart, raise your hand. And then everybody in the class is raising their hand. And they're like, what? How? What type of magic is this? And it's because Neptune sextile Pluto is an aspect that is in and out of orb since 1944 until 2035. So a lot of us born in these years have it. Sometimes it's out of orb. My two first kids don't have it. The 2000 and 2002, it wasn't in orb. Anyway, the Neptune Pluto sextile that really represents our generation. Can you imagine like something that is from 1944 all the way to 2035? So it really represents like a huge chunk of people. And so that sextile has been creating yods forever. For
yeah.
it's been 100 years that
Yeah.
it's yoding. So also odds are, if you have a yod in your chart, it could be that at the root is Neptune Pluto. That sextile, it's in everyone's chart almost. And
So
so
what
the
does that mean,
sun,
Sarah, to you? What does it mean, the fact that generations have Neptune sextile Pluto?
so that's really interesting, first of all, to think about this whole thing. So for me, what I just realized is that in after Second World War, we started putting our nose really deep into governmental stuff and watching the way we were being governed, because there was such a rise of totalitarianism in the 40s, of course. And so the Neptune kind of
Being
debunks
manipulated and controlled is what I'm getting
being
with
manipulated and
Neptune.
controlled,
Yeah, yeah.
and conspiracy theories are born.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're a whole generation that is like kind of like seeing through maybe the veil of illusion. That's Neptune. Neptune creates
Mm-hmm.
illusions of the structures that are in power, so deeply rooted Pluto, right? And so it's also celebrity culture for me.
Uh-huh.
Neptune rules celebrities and cinema and models and everything, and like Pluto giving the power to
Mm-hmm.
celebrities. So like going from kings, like we don't have kings anymore, Now we love Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like if I asked you like name Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's kid's name, like odds are people know their kid's name is Shiloh, and I don't know, but I remember Shiloh.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? We know them. They're a celebrity. So Neptune, Pluto, like the illusions, debunking the illusions of power. What's interesting is that this Neptune Pluto sextile is creating a yod to the sun on the full moon. And
Mhm.
right in the middle of the sextile is the moon at midpoint, right? Creating that boomerang. And so that tension, the debunking and bringing light to a lie, something that was previously hidden. So I'm thinking big controversy reveal, big reveal of a controversy, maybe including A, government, B, celebrity, you know?
Well, Blake Lively, who is a Leo rising, and that Mercury retrograde, which we haven't even talked about Mercury retrograde, but that's revealing things. Now it's back in Leo about these types of topics. Royalty, too. There could be some big royal secrets, but um, somebody posted an interview they'd done with her where she was kind of snotty, like the interviewer said something. It was just really tense, and the interviewer said it made her want to quit her job. It was so tense being interviewing her. And now I think she's one of the people we're going to be seeing, like there could be floodgates opening about how she behaves and stuff like this, because Pluto and Aquarius is opposite Leo, exposing these perfect people for some of their things, how they really are. We found out
Exactly,
about
right?
Matthew Perry, his drug, the people feeding his drugs were like a conspiracy, like a criminal organization with under the first quarter moon in Scorpio, which shows that, conspiracy and corruption. So yeah, there may be another boom, big story comes out of nowhere about someone,
Yeah,
yeah,
someone
some
falling from
leonic, an
grace.
leonic figure is exposed.
Exactly, a Leonic figure falling from grace, something being revealed about our illusions about who they were, something like this. So I feel like there's like a big reveal of secrets with that yod. That's kind of exciting for me.
Mhm.
And you know Blake Lively. It's funny that you're mentioning because of course, like I don't care about Blake Lively. I never watched her stupid show. I'm too old for it, and so I don't even know her work. Except I think she's like a pretty girl. Whatever is all I know. But I heard today that she got married on a plantation.
How interesting. Oh, I had no
It's
idea.
coming out. So it's already, you said, I heard today that she and her dude, Ryan, whatever, got married on a plantation. And no,
Yeah.
they decided to go rent a plantation somewhere and get married there, which is like so morbid and
Mm, mm,
it kind of
mm,
sick. I don't know
mm.
who would want to do that. It's like get married in a cemetery is more romantic. No, don't you think? I don't
I
know. I don't even.
me, I would not get married on a
No, I
plantation.
don't think anybody. It's like get
Well,
married
that's
at
gonna like bring
Auschwitz. Don't
that
do
brings
it.
up these themes again about the way things were and the way things are now and being dragged back, like being pulled back on the plantation, being put back in the kitchen, being da 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 da. Da. Yeah, it's like this fight between the Capricorn. This is the work of Pluto going between Capricorn and Aquarius, back and like this back and forth. Yeah.
How do the kids say very demure, very whatever? It's like the new meme in town on
Ooh.
the internet. There's like a thing that's like very demure, very modest, very shy girl. Where does it go? Can somebody who's like younger than me and hipper tell me in the comments what it says? It's very Venus and Virgo is what it is.
Uh-huh.
Very
Uh-huh.
demure, very. It's a thing. Come on, kids, tell me.
I
Tell
don't
me
know
what.
what you're talking
It's
about. Yeah.
like the new trend online. I don't know. Kids are saying very demure right now. It's like the new thing to be is very demure. and very Venus and Virgo, if anything, would be demure,
Oh,
you know?
Mystic Baby wants to also say you're the best mentor ever.
That's my baby
Mm-hmm.
Isabella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's some other comments you can read. Yeah. Oh, Bay Rose, you have Uranus in the 10th house too. And Cancer was in a cage in your early life, had a terrible first marriage which exploded. Mm-hmm.
I can't believe nobody here is hip enough to tell me the thing about very demure. You guys are so not hip. Hold on, let me Google that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Oh, very demure.
what is coming up next though, Ramya wants to know.
Uh,
Well, that's what we're talking about now.
Wait,
What's coming
listen to
up
how
next?
Virgo this is. The quote is very demure, very mindful. How Venus and Virgo is this?
Yes, I haven't heard this, Sarah, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
You'll know tomorrow.
Okay.
That's the Uranus in me. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
tomorrow you'll hear about demure, very mindful. Why is everybody jumping on the modesty bandwagon? Asks the Guardian. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because Venus is in Virgo,
Oh yeah. Venus
opposite
is in
Saturn.
Virgo, controlling your and opposite coming to post Saturn on Monday, controlling the way you like your
Saturn.
image, your visage, your Venus, like so that you can magnetize, yeah, magnetize what you want to yourself in a demure way. Okay, Claudio says, free from negative beliefs and shift our okay.
This
Oh,
is like some
this
old
is the moon
Uranus.
Uranus, awakening everything to positive belief. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that Uranus does that, awaken everything to positive belief, honestly. If anything, so this is like something else that could be interesting is like to think of like Jupiter in Gemini square Saturn and Pisces. Like this is the battle of the mutables. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about mutability, the ability to change. So for me, Saturn and Pisces is emotional maturity, really is what it is, you know? It's really the ability to hold our own emotions and be responsible for our emotional landscape, which, you know, for anybody who has strong Pisces placements, that can be hard, but Saturn comes in to help to structure the way we hold ourselves. And then Jupiter in Gemini is intellectual flexibility. Jupiter in Gemini is the ability to understand other people. And so
This
together,
and that can both be true. Someone can think it's perfectly acceptable to be buried on a plantation, and someone else is horrified
no.
by it.
Oh my
Mhm.
God. But yeah, exactly. And so Jupiter in Gemini gives the ability to understand. And I think like something, so there's this philosopher, Hannah Arendt, who's a German philosopher from the 30s and 20s. And she said something that really marked me. She said that understanding is more important than agreeing. And so for me, that really changed the way that I see conversations. And I have Jupiter and Gemini, it's my Jupiter return right now. So this ability to like kind of understand the other without trying to agree or disagree, without being opinionated, just like understand. It's very Jupiter and Gemini. And so if you take two of them together, emotional maturity and intellectual flexibility, right? We have really the recipe for like a growth, for like a you know, yeah, raising our own capacity to be here, you know, and to engage with whatever is going on. So
Can,
I think that's part of,
yeah, can I throw something out there about the
please.
plantation? Beyonce's Lemonade. She filmed a lot of that on a plantation.
I mean, but for
Yeah.
reasons though, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
for reasons that
Yeah.
were like good. She didn't move to the plantation,
No,
you
no,
know.
no, no. Yeah.
And
No.
I guess like for me, like if a black person like chose to buy a plantation and throw like a super cool wedding on it, would be totally different and a whole other story about like reclaiming spaces that were, you know, and making them beautiful, or like I don't know, healing, I don't know. But no, don't do it. If you have
Mm-hmm.
this idea, I just would really highly suggest you don't.
Yeah, I'm just being the agitator. Just
No,
being the
Beyonce,
Being the Uranus,
Lemonade on the
poking the.
Plantation. Do you remember these shots were really cool where she had like those long braids
Oh, I
and like the
loved
girls are like
it.
sitting
And
on
she
the
was like
stairs or
twirling
something.
the braids, Beyonce.
Right? And like they're like running in like the fields. It was gorgeous and
Yeah.
like a whole other story.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a great question for the full moon. What plantations are you stuck on? How do you need to, what do you need to break free of so that you could emerge? Have you built your own plantation? This is like the eight of swords energy, where their ties binding someone's wrists. They're bound, but she can just lift her hands up, and they fall away like the scarves. They're scarves, not.
What did Uranus do to you, my sweet friend?
Does this is what I sound crazy?
It's great. It's great, but it's true. Like, what, like, old traps of the past, old mentality is still holding you back? Like, with the Venus thing, I think, like, old things that bring you pleasure that are not really pleasurable.
Mm. Oh. Oh, someone's saying, okay, yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I love when you say, uh-huh, yeah, uh-huh. That's my favorite thing.
Oh yeah, so yeah, exposure. So think we are going to be hearing about Leonic things being exposed, and some Leo is the one, Aquarius is the many, and you can think about that with what you're seeing in the news. So celebrities,
Robbery. Yeah. Somebody famous taking money they weren't allowed to take. Somebody famous doing something that we wouldn't want them to do.
and they may
I
be
mean,
Jupiterian too. They may be someone religious, a judge, doctor. We already got the doctor with
I
Matthew Perry.
I would love for it to be a judge and like hit home at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, could be.
That's my
Mm-hmm.
wishful thinking. I'm always like, listen, Jupiter, while you're at it, can you go knock at the Supreme Court? Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, but definitely a revelation. Like it can be
Royalty.
royalty, governmental.
Oh,
Like I'm thinking like, yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, it's not like we would be so surprised if they're like, oh, oops, we gave money to this country and now they're terrorists. We're like, again, America,
Yeah,
serious.
yeah. It could be like the Iran Contra scandal, something about money being exchanged for in a transactional way. Yeah. But okay, last words of advice for people on their own in their own lives to make the most of this full moon that's coming up, that's intense. There's going to be some shocks and awe, so just be prepared.
Last words of advice for this intense moon. Because I'm a Taurus, I'm gonna stay grounded, stay hydrated. Mercury is in retrograde. Mercury is retrograde, although we haven't spoken about it at all. It is still retrograde until the 28th,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can count an extra like 10 days on top of that for it to kind of like get back to normal. But I'm thinking like take things slow down, take things slow. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I want for myself. I want like the energy is so electric, it's so intense that I want to be like barefoot. I want to sip on tea and I want to take my time. What do you
and,
think?
and not overreact. I got silence is golden. Yeah. If you hear something, try not to overreact. This is not a good time to fight with your partner because Venus and Mars are in square. It perfects on the 22nd. And there could be breakup energy, like sudden breaks that you can't put the pieces back together. So just keep that in mind. It's not the it's a good time to be writing in your journal about how you want to phrase things in a way when you're calm, not
Yeah,
while you're in the
and
heat of the
remember that.
moment.
And the thing about intellectual flexibility, emotional maturity, I think those are really some themes that we have to get comfortable with this year. And I think with Saturn and Pisces, there's like really a thing about like owning our triggers and tending to our emotional landscape and being like responsible for what goes on. And remember that if you're triggered, the trigger is all yours. It's inside of you. Tend to that without like going always on the outside, is my thing for this moment.
Yeah.
Like tend to your emotional space, take it slow, drink a lot of water, um,
Don't
and
buy the
read the news.
plantation.
Don't
Don't
get
party on the
married on a
plantation,
plantation.
especially if
Don't
you're Caucasian.
don't do it, Blake. Blake's deadly, man. It's like
Who
no.
would have thought we would go talking about plantations? And why are we talking about plantations? Because Venus opposite Saturn and Pisces. Pisces is a sign of slavery. Yeah. Saturn, that heart, Saturn and Pisces, a slave on a plantation. Venus
Working
and Virgo.
working
We're
hard
talking about
in
a woman
Virgo.
with a Virgo stellium, Miss Lively, who looks picture perfect at times, but we're going to be finding out more about it.
Lively is
Like,
deadly, man. She's yeah. So I mean, good luck to her. I'm sending
yes,
her blessings of protections because it looks like the things are coming out for her and whatever. Not like I care, but still,
yeah,
I don't want
no,
to curse her.
no, no. She's just an archetype. Like,
She's just a
she's like,
person.
we could have talked about alcohol, which we never got to, but
Right. This
yeah,
is what, yes, this is because you said something about the feminine being,
beheading. This is her beheading,
and so
maybe, or someone
with
else's.
Uranus on Algol, we're still on themes of women acting rebelliously, women acting the way we don't want them to act. I hope, yeah, I hope the next president is going to be exactly that, the Algol face
Well,
that we.
well, Kamala is a Uranus on Algol figure. Taylor Swift. I think she'll be at the convention, maybe just on the TV because I think she's out of town. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. This
let's
we're going to see
let's
this
watch it.
Uranian energy next week at the Democratic National Convention. I think on the high road. Well, the word freedom is a Uranus word in the whole song of the campaign. Yeah, it's electric. It's electric. So just like you said, ground. Okay, tell everyone where they can find you. I could talk to you for 2 hours, as you know. We could talk.
We will
We could talk for
eventually.
the
We're
rest
getting
of the
back on the phone
day.
or whatever. So they can find me on astroauntie.com. I'm teaching. We're enrolling now for Deborah Silverman Applied Astrology School. It's the best school. Anyone who wants information about that can reach out to me. Deborah just launched her Immersion. It's a free program for those of us who are interested in learning with us. I just, as we were texting, launched my podcast, which we didn't even speak about, which you are on, and I'm posting your episode next week because I'm doing episode at a time. So my first episode is on my YouTube channel, Astro Auntie, and you can find it, the link on my bio here on
Okay.
Instagram. So
And you're going to put it on the podcast too.
um,
What's the name of the podcast?
the podcast is called Inside the Astro Studio. It's a play on words on Inside the Actor Studio. It's a podcast in which I interview industry experts about their practice, their theory, their methods, their philosophy about astrology. So it's very much astrologers on astrology. So if you're wanting to nerd out with us, I'd be
Yeah.
happy.
Is the first episode already available?
The first episode is available on YouTube right now.
And are you going to put it on like Apple and Spotify and all those things?
I am. We're doing all the things. It's all on everything.
Okay. Okay. Well, it has been wonderful
I
talking to you
love
as
you so much, my
always.
friend.
I love you so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Everyone can
Thank you
follow
for
Sarah.
having
And
me.
yeah, have a happy full moon.
We
And
will.
just see how these things show up in the collective, I think is how people
Keep
can.
the news on.
Yeah. Okay, take
Bye,
care.
friends. Bye,
Bye.
Celeste. Thank you so much for having me, my darling.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.